Okay, we are in part 2 of my PS2 collection, only because my big old blabbering mouth ran on for 15 minutes and didn't really show you much of what I had, and that might be the same case here coming up, because I still have a lot to go through. Here is Kingdom Hearts. I got this for Christmas a while back when it first came out. Well, not when it first came out, when it first dropped in price, and I managed again to avoid the red top. And I'm trying to show off the cover, but it's looking like it's pretty dark in here. But you can see that this is the shiny version. I think they stopped printing the shiny version after a brief while, after they went to greatest hits. So yeah, I've got this one. I played through this, and I got pretty much everything, except I didn't beat Sephiroth, and I don't really do these kinds of games anyway, so Sephiroth, I never did beat him. He was too hard. And here is Kingdom Hearts 2, which I really got sick of really fast, and I just never did finish this. Yeah, this is the last experience I've had with Kingdom Hearts, and I know a lot of people love it, but I'm not a real big Square Enix guy. I'm not a Square guy, I'm not an Enix guy, and I'm not a Square Enix guy, and I'm not an RPG guy. I liked the idea. I still do. I think it's a good idea to have these characters matched up in a fantasy setting, and having it being a button mashing or action RPG or adventure game, as I used to call them, but that seems to be taken for a different genre now. Now you have to call them action RPGs, or people will not know what you're talking about. Yeah, I really don't know the Square characters very well, because I'm unfamiliar with Final Fantasy and such. And there's a long backstory about that, and it's mostly due to my disdain for RPGs in general, but that's a long story, and it goes back to the NES days. Here is a piece of garbage called Capcom Fighting Evolution. This sucks. If you see this, just pass on it. If you're a completist and you have to have every game that was ever made, maybe you should hit me up. I might let you have mine. Actually, I won't. I'm going to keep it, but yeah, you can probably find it for pretty cheap, because it's not that good, and yeah, it sucks. Here's Street Fighter Anthology, Alpha Anthology, I'm sorry. This is Street Fighter Alpha Anthology. And this contains Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter Alpha 2, Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold, which used to be a Saturn exclusive, I think. I don't think it was an arcade game. Street Fighter Alpha 3, and then Gem Fighter, which is badass. I really like Gem Fighter. I have it for PS1 as well. It's called Pocket Fighter on there. Good collection. Seek it out. You can get it probably on the Xbox as well. So yeah, either or, you're gonna be in for a fun time, because there's so many games on there. Here's a game that got shit on a lot, but not by me. I really like this one. Oh, hi Sherbert. That's my kitty, Sherbert. He came in to visit. Street Fighter EX3, 3D Street Fighter. It's basically Street Fighter with some Tekken and fireballs thrown in. I like it, so yeah, that's fine. Let me just close this up. My wife is on the phone. And I had this before I even got my PS2. I had quite a few games, because the record store down the road from where I used to live used to sell all the used PS2 games for $14.99, which was just outrageously low priced. So yeah, I wanted to get this to play the extra scenes that were not in the Dreamcast version, and there was one of the supporting characters in the Dreamcast version. I think his name is Steve. I can't really remember. In the Dreamcast version of Code Veronica, he had a haircut that made him look exactly like Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic. And in this version, which was also on Dreamcast in Japan but not in the US, this was ported over to the PS2. after the fact, after the Dreamcast pretty much croaked in the U.S. He had his hair changed so he wouldn't look as much like Leo DiCaprio, and rumor has it is that Leonardo DiCaprio had threatened legal action, but I think that's a crock of internet bullshit. And okay, here we go. Mark of Cree. This is very cool, and I would like to see this with its follow-up, Rise of the Kasai, on an HD collection, because this is a pretty cool concept, even if you don't really like the game that much. It basically has characters that look like a 90s Disney cartoon, but it is an M-rated game, as you can see, and it has a lot of blood and stealth kills, and you can use this bird to seek out your best and safest route to go through stealthily in order to take out your foes, which is a very cool concept. I like the game a lot, and I'm surprised it didn't have a bigger following, because it's actually pretty cool. There is the Sega Genesis Collection, which is one of the very few places you're going to get the Genesis version of Virtua Fighter. Which, I don't really like Virtua Fighter as is, but I was actually looking for this for the PSP, and someone bought it from underneath me at the bookstore where I buy my games. This game has a bunch of stuff on it, and I think some of them are unlockable. There's some pretty quality stuff on here, like Shadow Dancer and Comic Zone. Both Vector Man games, Flicky, Gain Ground. If you remember Gain Ground, that's one of those classics that people just kind of forgot about. Super Thunderblade, very early Genesis game. Sword of Vermilion. That was one of those Genesis games, RPGs, that I hated so much. Those were $75 when they first came out, if you can believe that. $75 for a Genesis game. Retail. It came with a hint guide strapped onto it, which told you how to play the game all the way through, which was very much unique at the time. Here is a terrible game that Capcom put out in the wake of all of the potty-mouthed, thug-influenced Rockstar Games garbage, called Beatdown Fists of Vengeance. I played the demo on a demo disc from the PlayStation Magazine, and the only reason that I bought this was because there is a character in the game in the first level that looks just like a character in a friend's movie that he made, and I showed it to him, and he thought it was hilarious. So we were just like laughing our asses off about this game pretty much. So I had to go out and I bought it. It's not very good, and it's very, very monotonous. It's one of the bad versions of a 3D beat 'em up, and there are more bad versions than there are good. Here is the original Devil May Cry. This was a system seller for me, really. I played the shit out of this. And Devil May Cry 2, which it's a deserved bad rap. The game isn't that good. Apparently it was actually designed to be a different game, and Capcom rejiggered it into Devil May Cry 2 in a jiff, because they wanted to get a sequel out there as fast as possible without actually having to create one. And here's Devil May Cry 3, the special edition, minus the red top. It did have a red top, but I did some customizing because there was a 3-pack release. So basically this is actually both the original Devil May Cry 3 and the dreaded red special edition. But the cover is from the 3-pack, I think. Yeah, the 3-pack. And then here is Zone of Enders. This game got another. This was another bad reputation game, but I think it's great. It's a lot better than the demo that it came with. That's for sure. Highly enjoyable, highly recommended. And if you should, I should follow my own advice and pick up the HD collection, which has this game on it. Zone of the Enders 2, the second runner. Some complete worthless piece of shit stole my copy, and I had to track one down again. Same guy that I've been talking about stole a bunch of stuff from my wife and I, and I'm still very bitter about it, even though it's been a few years. And I just recently discovered something that he